In 2019, the average Canadian household was $72,950 in debt, including mortgage debt. Individually, 18 to 25-year-olds on average carried $8,600 in debt, and 26 to 35-year-olds carried over $18,000 in debt, which didn't include mortgages. In those age ranges, where many long-term relationships are formed, it's safe to say at least one, if not both people, are in quite a lot of debt.
Welcome to another episode of Survive in Real Life. I'm Daryl and this is Matt. And today we're talking about how to survive debt when you're in a long-term relationship. Our 3 survival tips today are communicate, set common goals, and work as a team.
For the purpose of today's video, we're going to assume that you've been with your partner for a while and have accumulated some debt together, or that you and your partner were open about your debt situation before you got serious in your relationship. It is so easy for couples today to get into debt problems. From financial mismanagement to life emergencies, you can easily find yourself slipping further and further into the red if you don't figure out how to tackle the problem.
It starts with communication. You and your partner need to talk openly about your debt situation. It's not the time to place blame on anyone, but you need to be clear with each other on why you're in debt so you can understand your situation. For example, you might have a monthly budget, but instead of putting money into savings, you guys are ordering fast food every day. So when the car breaks down, you have to use your credit card to make repairs. In that situation, the issue isn't just eating out too much, it's a lack of understanding why savings are so important.
Exactly. Look, talking about money and holding your partner and yourself accountable is uncomfortable, but you have to get to the root of the problem. Once you understand why you're having debt issues, the communication can't stop there. If you're in charge of the finances for the household, you need to make sure your partner is aware of the financial situation. You can use apps for this or just talk about it, but tracking your accounts and budget is so important. If your partner doesn't understand what's going on, they're likely to blow your budget or spend on credit without really knowing the consequences. You don't get out of debt by working separately. You always have to be on the same page, which is why communication is so important.
Which brings us to our second point. Set common goals. As part of communication, you should spend some time talking about what's important to you. For my wife and I, eliminating debt is a top priority. Maybe for you it isn't, but that doesn't mean you don't have to deal with it. It just changes how you do so. Sit down with your partner and figure out what you want to be doing in the next year, 5 years, 10 years. What are things that matter to you? And what are you going to need financially to achieve those goals? Maybe you love to travel and want to plan one massive trip, or have a trip every year. Maybe you want to buy a house or have kids. Or maybe you just want to invest and watch your wealth grow. Whatever it is that's important to you, write it down.
Once you've settled those priorities, you have to figure out where your debt situation comes into play. If you want to buy a house, can you save up enough for a down payment on top of your debt payments? And can you get approved for a mortgage? If you need to tackle your debt first, take that into consideration now and plan accordingly.
Working towards goals is one of the most powerful motivational tools you can have. Agreeing on your goals with your partner and knowing how your debt situation is going to hinder you along the way will motivate you to do something about it. It's going to let you really plan your financial future and take out debt together.
Together is the key word there, because our last tip is to work as a team. Listen, as a couple, you will not hit your financial goals if only one person is on board. You both need to be rowing in the same direction or you're just going to go in circles. If you want to reach your goals, be debt-free, and enjoy financial freedom, you need to do it together. Now, some of you are asking, how do you work as equals on a team when one person makes a lot more money than the other? Well, you're right. That's a great question and a tough challenge. It comes back to priorities. Now, you can choose to keep finances separate and track who contributes to what, or you can merge finances. Both have their pros and cons, but in either case, if you both agree on how the money should be spent, how to deal with your debt, communicate, and then you hold up your end of the bargain, you should be fine.
Listen, finances are among the highest stress factors in a relationship. When you're facing serious debt or debt that's keeping you from doing what you want to do with your money, it creates a load of stress on you and your partner. And if you and your partner are not equally engaged and working towards the same goals, you're in for a world of hurt in your relationship. It's going to test you and push you to the max. BusinessInsider.com lists money as the top reason couples get divorced. And in a survey of financial and relationship experts, determined the top 4 reasons, money reasons people get divorced are opposing attitudes to money, mismatched financial priorities, credit card debt, and financial infidelity. So you see, we aren't making this stuff up. Open communication, alignment on financial goals, and working together to achieve those goals are the most important financial factors in keeping your relationships going strong in the face of debt.
Now, we have a bonus tip for you. Daryl mentioned financial infidelity, which is when one person in the couple decides to go rogue with their spending or use funds without the other person's knowledge. This really comes down to trusting your partner, so the bonus tip is to be honest with your spending. Spending money can feel good sometimes, and it's nice to get things for yourself. I'm not suggesting that you don't do that, but I do think it's important for you to consider the impacts of your spending and to think about your partner.
If you set out a budget together, it's a good idea to put some cash aside for extra spending on yourself. But if you want to go outside of that, think about what that means. Is your partner going without so that you can have something nice? Or are you adding to your credit card debt to buy that new big ticket item that you've been eyeing at the store? These are really easy ways to sabotage your relationship.
So just be honest with your spending. Let your partner know when you want to get something big that maybe you can't afford right away, and come to big spending decisions together. If you're breaking the budget, do it openly. Don't let your partner find an Amazon box on your doorstep. The old saying of asking forgiveness is better than asking permission is pretty selfish, and it's a good way of putting stress on or ending relationships.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Surviving Real Life, guys. If you like it, subscribe and share for more.